Hello, Internet! Gino, aka That Pinguino, here again with another deep look. This time, I'm taking a look at Dark Souls 2 for the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. And the reason why I'm checking out this game today is to show off my kind of unique playstyle on Dark Souls 2. It's a very glass cannon, all-in sort of approach, and to explain why I prefer that style and how I came across it. So, first things first, I use a plus 10 club, a plus 10 great club, and 4 rings that boost my strength. The Ring of Blades gives me physical attack, Third Dragon Ring gives me HP, stamina, and max load, the Chlorantony Ring increases stamina regeneration, and the Old Sun Ring allows me to explode when I reach a certain damage threshold, so if I get swarmed, I blow up and it backs enemies off of me or kills them. Now for my stats, I put 40 points into Vigor, 26 into Endurance, 78 into Strength, and 23 into Adaptability, and 16 into Dexterity just to unlock some weapons. The Vigor and Endurance are to keep me alive and to keep me attacking. The Strength is all for damage, and Adaptability was just for some added dodging. And as you can see, my club has S scaling with Strength, and my Great Club has A scaling with Strength. So, all those Strength points, even though ordinarily in Dark Souls 2, once you get a certain amount of Strength, there are huge diminishing returns on how much of a damage bonus you're given. Because I have these weapons that scale very, very well with Strength, I was able to continue to dump points into Strength just to continue the damage increase. If I was using a weapon that only scaled with like D or C with Strength, that would almost all be wasted stats. But in this case, for me and my playstyle, which is very all-in, I'm dodging. As you can see, I wear no armor. My character is completely naked. And I just use a two-handed club, and I do not block. So no blocking, no armor to help soak up damage. I just need to deal damage as much as possible as fast as I can. So the difference between killing an enemy in 2 hits or 3 hits is really significant. I can definitely get off 2 hits before my stamina runs out. Getting off 3 hits with the time it takes and the wind-up and all that stuff is asking a lot. So killing the enemy as quickly as possible and making sure they cannot hit me back is paramount. I have almost no ability to survive. However, I actually found this playstyle I did it in Dark Souls, the first game, just as kind of a goof, but in attempting a naked run just for fun, it actually led me to find that I enjoy this style a lot more, and it makes the game play a little bit more like a traditional action game. Think like God of War or Devil May Cry. Now, you're never going to get as stylish when it comes to combos or any sort of flashiness. I didn't put any points into magic, so I don't even get fancy animations for the most part. But the game is a lot more about hitting and dodging and maintaining speed and maintaining pace than it is the ordinary kite an enemy, wait until they attack into your shield, hit them once, and then rinse repeat. There's a lot more dodging, there's a lot more placement around enemies. Your hits, when they hit, your enemy stays hit and usually will die. You don't have to be playing cat and mouse with them quite as much. I have most enemies in this game, as you can see, I'm one-shotting, two-shotting these guys. You can just run up on them, bop them once, and take them out for the most part. Except for this area right here is some of the toughest, highest damaging, highest life total enemies in the game, and I'm taking them out still in about 2 hits. I still can just kind of like, here, just hit that guy, and just hope that my hit kills him before he's able to kill me. So it leads to a very different playstyle. And in the case of Dark Souls, because of the way you ordinarily approach this game, where you're finding armor, you're finding better weapons, you're finding shields, and you're ordinarily thinking, I should equip these better pieces of armor. I got a legendary weapon, I should probably equip it. I got this sweet armor that's going to boost my strength, it's going to boost my endurance, I'm going to be able to survive so much better. And the siren call of wearing heavy armor and becoming very survivable, by resisting that siren call, I was able to find a playstyle that suited me a lot better than the traditional way that people play Dark Souls. Even though Like here, bam. It's very glass cannon. I can only take about 3 hits from these enemies before I die. But I kill them so fast that if everything works out well, if I'm on point with my skills and my attacks, I'm able to kill them so fast that even if I'm spending a couple more trips to get to the end of a segment, to the next bonfire, I'm at least... my deaths are quick and my kills are quick. So the attempts, each individual attempt might take 2, 3, 4 minutes instead of 20, instead of 10. And that means that when Dark Souls has wonkiness, like in my last encounter, I swung and missed because my character model just kind of slid on the stairs. Those little digs on you don't bother as much if you didn't spend as much time painstakingly whittling an enemy down and using up resources like arrows or magic. So I think it's very, in this case, in Dark Souls 2, it's interesting how by intentionally ignoring some of the mechanics that this game has to offer, like magic, like ranged attacks, armor, encumbrance, trying to circumvent a lot of those conventions actually allowed me to have a much more enjoyable experience than if I had gone forward as a lot of people do. And I feel like a lot of the time when you have a bad experience with a game, you might think it's poor design, like the game has some monumental flaw, instead of examining the way your playstyle impacted the experience you ended up having. Now, with Dark Souls 2, when I've played this game, playing it in the ordinary fashion, I've had a miserable time. I don't enjoy the painstaking, difficult but fair combat that a lot of people really appreciate. But when I turn it into walk up, bop someone with a giant club, and then run away, like Captain Caveman or something, that is something I can really enjoy. I struggled through a lot of this game, and once I was able to cobble together my perfect Captain Caveman, all of a sudden I found myself having fun. And like I think back to games like, say, Final Fantasy VIII, which is, I've done a bunch of videos on it and its combat system, but a lot of the complaints that people have with that game is that its combat system is very broken, very exploitable, and it's very obtuse. You don't necessarily understand what you should be doing or how you should be doing it when you're first exposed to that game, especially if games like Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VII are the first you experience in the series. It's just so freeform. There's a lot of systems that are poorly explained. The tutorials aren't very good. I feel like Dark Souls fits in a little bit in that same mold. A little poorly explained. You have to figure out what you need to do. But once you find a play style, once you realize the right way to play, or a right way to play, that will get you through the game in a kind of relatively anxiety-free fashion, you can then start to adjust and cater your own playstyle very strongly towards what you would actually make the game more fun. Like in FF8, a lot of people played it like a straightforward role-playing game, as though leveling mattered and as though magic mattered. But turns out both of those things are almost irrelevant. It's got a very unique system, very customizable. But because people went into it with expectations that this is the way the game should be played, they actually made the game less fun for themselves and didn't realize that there was a miscommunication between what the game wanted of them and what they thought the game wanted of them. And they were choosing a way to play that was inherently less fun and definitely more difficult. And for me, I think the same thing happened with me in Dark Souls. I originally approached the game with the same painstaking approach with armor and shields. I've played it that way. I don't like it. I find it frustrating. I find the precision of the combat to be annoying. I really enjoy running and dodging. That is how I play action games. And by trying to play this game the way I was told it should be played, I was having a worse time and I was less successful. And it really speaks to this game's versatility and maneuverability, customizability, that you can have these two separate, completely separate approaches. All offense, all turtle style, all ranged. You can go spec in so many different ways. And as long as you have that crappy red dreadlock look, you'll be fine. And so, now, my glass cannon style, I'm definitely running through these levels a lot faster than I would be if I had armor on. I am avoiding these enemies because all the enemies in Dark Souls, for the most part, are so slow and ponderous and so deliberate in their animations that if you are operating at full speed at all times, like I am when I'm running, most of them cannot actually catch you and cannot actually hit you very hard as long as you're in these big open areas. In tighter areas, it's a little bit more dangerous, but still not that dangerous. The game doesn't expect you to run like this. And so you get a trade-off between getting through the game very quickly or being a little bit safer and taking your time and having the game take a little bit longer. I finished the game in about 40 hours. I don't know if that's long or short, but for me it felt short, considering I dropped out of Demon Souls after like 7 and just had no fun and it felt like an eternity. So the trade-offs with this, obviously I'm one-shotting and two-shotting pretty much every enemy in the game, regular enemies. I am very, very good in one-on-one combat because dodging and circle, strafing, and doing stuff like that, when you're more mobile, all of those tactics are much more effective. Blocking is about the same, as long as you're parrying and doing stuff like that. You can see I can just loop, knock these guys down because I can stagger them with a single hit. And then once you stagger an enemy in this game, you can basically just keep hitting them over and over and over again, and then they just never get up. And so that works on pretty much anything human or anything staggerable. So it's very easy to put an enemy in a state where if you don't kill them in one hit, you have effectively killed them in one hit. Because 1, get up. 2, can just do this all day. Get up. 3, and there he goes. So, downside, I cannot really deal with swarms of enemies quite so well because I can only swing so many times before I run out of stamina. And once I run out of stamina, I can't run or dodge or attack. And then I'm kind of screwed. Other downsides, I have no resistances to poison or any of the other weird status effects that the game throws at you. So in levels like the Black Gulch and the not Blight Town, but it's totally Blight Town portion of this game, those areas were needlessly frustrating because there are just areas that you can't really avoid taking poison damage, and my resistance without items was so terrible that I was almost always poisoned in those areas. I just had to sprint, even more than normal. But those are kind of the only downsides. And there are some attacks that will just one-hit kill you, and if you get hit by them, the margin of error is just so small that you're just screwed. But other than that, like, I can take bosses down in like 7-8 hits. I beat the Smelter Demon in one fight, which was pretty impressive, I thought. Had real trouble with the Royal Rat Authority. Again, there's a boss that has a lot of small minions, and so all the bosses that involved multiple enemies, they gave me trouble. But I found this playstyle. It really suited me. It made the game a lot more fun for me. You might enjoy it. I'm just going to go ahead, kill these guys, and then show off a little bit of what my Captain Caveman here can do against a boss. So, I think the lesson here is just because you're not having fun with the way you've approached the game at first, sometimes that's because the game is bad and it's poorly balanced or poorly designed, but sometimes it is because there is an optional way of playing the game that suits you more than the straightforward approach. Just because you're getting better armor doesn't mean you have to equip it, and doesn't mean that it's going to make the game more fun. Just because you can level up and that's something that usually works in JRPGs doesn't mean that that's something that's going to be enjoyable for you. Doesn't mean that that's the challenge you should approach the game with. Doesn't mean that that's something you should be keeping in mind. So, let's see if this dragon will give you a tussle and then sign out. So see, I took out like 10% of its health before it even stood up, and then just so much damage. I think this is gonna kill me. Oh god, the fire. So, till next time, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know. Peace!